the executive Playbook in proud association with Hennessy XO. Each drop is an odyssey.
His designs have become a local red carpet staple, with Bonang Matiba, Lira, Rolene Strauss, and many others regularly spotted wearing his creations. And while that in itself might seem like a far cry from his upbringing in the small town of Koster in the Northwest Province, his talent transcends South African shores with the likes of Kelly Rowland, Cardi B, Kourtney Kardashian, and the queen of talk herself, Oprah Winfrey, now counted among his many high-end clients. It might seem like it was all smooth sailing for designer Gert-Johan Coetzee as he started making waves in the competitive fashion industry at the tender age of 19. But we're here at his Johannesburg studios to find out more about the hardships he's faced as a business owner, the things that truly matter to him beyond the glitz and the glam, and what he feels he still needs to achieve to truly cement himself as a fashion icon. Gert-Johan Coetzee, I'm so excited to be speaking to you today. I tried my best to get dressed.
You look stunning.
Hope
I
we
love
haven't
it.
Disappointed you.
Obviously, you got the memo for the color scheme.
Right? Almost seems like great minds think alike.
Right, I love it.
Exactly. But Gert, for many South Africans and I guess people across the world really, we all know you for your fashion sense, the number of celebrities and well-known individuals that you dress. But we really want to get to know Gert, the individual, the designer, and the young boy who's from Koster in the Northwest Province. I was just teasing off air a moment ago that my Afrikaans is not so good, but ek sal probeer om suiwer Afrikaans te praat.
Ek dink jou Afrikaans is pragtig.
Oh, baie dankie. But Gert, let's start with the passion for fashion and where it all came about, because we're well aware that your parents were quite liberal in supporting your drive to actually be creative.
You know, I don't think fashion was ever a choice for me. It was definitely a calling. I did it from such a young age, and it came so naturally and easy to me that I definitely have done this in a few previous lives, I'm sure.
Yeah.
So it was just amazing to have the support of my parents, and it was literally a case of this young child just always sewing, always dressing pencils, always having something to do with fashion. I think they just came to a point where they realized if they're not going to send me for sewing classes, I'm going to cut up a curtain. And they did that, and that was so liberating and so amazing to have be able to upskill yourself at such a young age and really become a young businessman and a young entrepreneur. And I think that for me was the game changer.
A huge game changer and also unconventional, right? Because we're all well aware, parents back in the 80s, I guess, regardless of what background you come from, were very particular about the kind of careers and the life training that a child should often get. But I guess that's really stood you in good stead.
You know what? The funny thing there was this. I remember fashion always getting in the way of school. So we started with normal school. Didn't work. Fashion got in the way. Then we decided, let's try homeschooling. Didn't work. We did literally 2 hours of school. The rest of the day, we just did fashion. Where it came to a point where I just finished standard 7 or just in the beginning of standard 8. And my dad said, you know what, this is it. You're absolutely wasting your time in school. I had a business already. I knew where I wanted to go. It was so blooming obvious that I was going to become a fashion designer.
Yeah.
And then they let me drop out of school and go and study fashion.
Yeah. And I'm assuming those are the early days of entrepreneurship. And that leads me to naturally ask if you believe entrepreneurs might be born or made, and reflecting on your experience, how that might influence your response.
I think nothing is born with. I don't think you are born with a talent or born with anything except looks if you're a model. But I definitely think everything is cultivated and really trying to improve on yourself 1% every day. And that is what I try and do. I love listening to all these motivational speakers and books and things. And what I take from it is really every day, if you wake up and you just improve that 1%, by the end of the year, you have improved 350%. And even if you just retain 10% of that, you have improved 10% a year. And that is what I've done since a very young age, is really trying to upskill myself every opportunity I get.
But let's be real, Gert, that's great. But sometimes we have bad days, right? Sometimes you wake up in the morning and you're just not in the mood to actually see the sunrise or be optimistic about business or life in general. And I'm keen to understand from your entrepreneurial point of view, how have you managed not only the bad days, but some of the positives as well?
You know, the bad days, for some reason, I don't remember them. Like there's a block in my brain that don't remember a bad day. So I never sit down and think about how horrible that experience was. It's always about pushing forward and what's next and doing the next bigger thing and motivating yourself. I was writing actually this morning in my gratitude journal how thankful I am that I am self-motivating. And I think that is a skill that is so important to have. And that is a skill that I try and instill in the bursary winners and the young students that I mentor.
Tell us more about that, because that's certainly where you're making a difference in society by really bringing in more people into the economic environment, I guess, in fashion.
I have always loved fashion with a purpose and fashion with a conscience. It just came to me one day that it can't all be about colors and textures and what you're wearing. There has to be more to fashion. And I started dedicating my collections to different kind of social issues. I once redesigned the HIV virus so that it became a conversation piece. And through that, creating awareness. We've raised awareness for albinism, for women's rights, for breast cancer. And then to a point I came that I realized that let's do education. I've had my bursary program for the last 9 years. And every year it's just becoming bigger and bigger. And what I really find and enjoy about my different bursary program is that it creates a bubble for these kids to thrive in. Every year, every holidays, they come to my studio, I mentor them, they really see that on work, on the job experience. And that is why the Gert-Johan Coetzee bursary winners are always top of class and always going straight into the most powerful jobs in fashion.
Yeah. How has that been though? Because we're well aware that we live in a country where unemployment is very high, job opportunities are very scarce, and really trying to motivate young people to be entrepreneurial within their thinking is also a bit of a challenge given the environment that they might be surrounded by. But how have you managed to overcome some of those challenges?
You know what, it is hard, especially if a child has come from like a very disadvantaged background and the parents have a very negative thought pattern. I think that is always the first thing I try and change or try and improve in somebody. When I say my mentorship programs that I do, it's not really about this is how you stitch pants. It's really about the thinking behind things, because there's many people that can stitch pants. There's people that is much better pants stitchers than I am, but it's really about the thinking behind it. And that is what I try and instill in those kids. And I think if teachers and people that set celebrities, people that set examples for these kids can really come behind the thinking of success and the positiveness behind it, that will already cultivate the environment for them to thrive whichever way they're going.
How has that worked for you in terms of the thinking? Because what I'm learning from you is that you're really quite deliberate, right? About self-investment, self-awareness, self-development. And it really does seem as though it's a lesson that you try to impart in the lives of many people that you come across. Share with us more examples as to how it's really cultivated the team that you've been able to manage here.
Yeah, so I think one of my weakest points as a young entrepreneur was managing people. It was such a hard thing. It did not come naturally to me.
Why? Were you friendly with people?
I think I was too friendly. I just want everybody to be happy. I just want everybody to enjoy this, because I'll basically do fashion for free. That's how much I love it. But you have to realize that not everybody shares your passion always. So then you have to find different ways to motivate different people. And that is where I really started self-developing into reading different books, looking at other business people, surrounding myself with people that I look up to. And I think that is also for me a very important side of investing in yourself, is look around your 5 immediate friends, and that will show you the 5 next years of your life. And that is a quote that I heard, and I just really thought about that years ago. And I've always tried to surround myself with people that I look up to, people that inspire me, and of course, beautiful women.
Of course, right? Speaking of beautiful women, there's a long list of amazing women that you've dressed. Locally in South Africa, everyone really associates you quite closely to Bonang Mateba, given that you've dressed her in multiple gorgeous outfits on the red carpets, on stage. But of course, Oprah Winfrey's added to that name, Kourtney Kardashian, maybe Gugulethu Mfuphi one day. But I'm keen to understand, when you work with all these individuals, as you say, not only is it a creative process to design many of these outfits, but working with people also comes with a different kind of engagement. How have you managed that? And I guess the associations you formed, how have they really managed to put the Gert-Johan Coetzee brand on a global stage?
You know what? I think it's really about finding people that inspires you. So this is how my particular inspiration and creativity works, is that I feed off the energy of somebody. So I'll see them, I'll think about them, and the idea will pop into my head. And for me as a young designer, when I was trying to make it into the industry, I just thought about all these powerful women that I would like to dress, and what they would be like, and how would they look, and where will they sit, and what will they drink, and all of that, just fantasies in my head, and then I would design. And by doing that, accidentally, I attracted all these women into my life. So that has been the law of attraction in action, I think. Things like Oprah Winfrey and Cardi B, and being on those people's shopping lists, for me has been one of my biggest dreams. And it's always been a dream to take South African fashion to an international stage. And I never limited myself too much by saying this and this and this exactly this day. I just kind of like put it out there, and it happened. Like if I said I wanted to dress Kris Jenner and was so specific hunting after it, maybe I would have missed Oprah. So that's also a thing about just leaving loose and just aiming to something, improving on yourself every day until you attract the right people, and then the right people will see you.
The Executive Playbook, in association with Hennessy XO, celebrating personal and business success.
The Executive Playbook in proud association with Hennessy XO. Each drop is an odyssey.
I'm looking at your T-shirt, and exactly, it says Gert, it's a South African flag, and yet we are discussing the international opportunities that you've identified. And I'm keen to understand what your perspective is as a South African designer representing the country and the continent, going global, working with these international names. Have you felt any kind of pressure to show up differently, to make sure that there's a clear amount of respect that's represented not only to international designers, but for African and South African designers too?
So I think what's very important is Africanness and South Africanness, because there can be many talented people around the world, but nobody has got my background and my way of looking and thinking of things. So I really reflect back always when I design to my time on the farm that was so specific to me.
Yeah.
And really what that was like. Being surrounded by all the cultures. Like we said earlier, my parents has always been very liberal. So I've always been exposed to so many different cultures and different types of people that it has really embedded into my creativity, the diversity that I want to bring across. And that by itself makes my design style so completely different to anybody else in the world. And I'm not sure, but I'm thinking that is why the Americans seems to be drawn to Gert-Johan Coetzee.
I'm also intrigued by, I guess, the concept of unpacking luxury within the African context, right? When you view and discuss luxury within the African context, how do you do it? And is it something that should come naturally to many of us as, I guess, members of the fashion community?
So what I always try and showcase is, even though I'm fully aware that there's hunger and there are very poor and disadvantaged people in the country, I try not to focus and showcase only that. I try and showcase a happier picture, the best picture, the most beautiful picture of South Africa. So I always focus on the celebratory side of our cultures, and then also showing the world what African couture looks like. I think we know India's got such rich beading and everything is so decadent and opulent. In Africa, we have that. It just hasn't been explored and showcased to its max. And the way it's been done has been done so many times over and over that we just have to really look at it from a different perspective.
What about ownership? I know that there's a lot of people who might be watching this and thinking, we've got fantastic designs and as you say, related to our culture and our heritage, but we struggle when it comes to securing that IP to protect many of our local brands.
Yeah, so I think that is a whole nother topic. I think that is a very difficult thing, especially when it comes to copyright infringement and things like that. But that has never bothered me, and I think that's why that hasn't really ever happened to me, because when somebody copies my designs, it's such a compliment. And also, I'll just think of something else. So it's not a problem. Yeah, of course, it's frowned upon, and please don't do it. But if it happens, you must really pick your battles and see your fights. Yeah.
And the textiles industry and environment, we're well aware that that's also faced quite a bit of pressure, specifically in South Africa.
again, it is really about creativity. It's really about what you make of it. If we sit in the puddle of our own tears saying that the textile industry has gone to hell, we are going to be nowhere. So what I try and do is I try and look what is possible in South Africa, what is possible to materials can be imported and added to South African materials, and just really finding creative solutions around it. I mean, I don't have the fabrics that they have in New York and Milan, but I can make something better that will be more unique to me.
What do you make of the design or fashion skills we have in the country?
We can always be upskill more. I am a firm believer of stacking your pride in your pocket and really trying to learn from others. I've always surrounded myself with people that knows more than I do. I started by, a few years ago, I was having some questions and I didn't know how to do it, so I poached my teacher that taught me fashion to come and work for me for a few years, and we learned so much from her. It was such a pleasant experience, and she of course now retired, but I think that is one of the ways I try and upskill myself, and I also urge students to do that. I've done myself, gone for internships abroad. So I've worked at Carolina Herrera, I've worked in New York, I've worked at all these different places for a few months here, a few months there, take a short sabbatical and go and upskill. And sometimes you learn and sometimes you learn them things. So it's always different. And I think that is a very good way of just keeping top of mind and keeping ahead.
Tell us about some of those lessons, and maybe you can share what, I guess, the greatest lessons you've learned and what you perhaps had to unlearn, because that's also something that we often need to do in terms of attaining success.
There's so many lessons. I'm always thinking, and this is the question I hate the most, because people ask you, what have you learned? What lessons have you learned?
And you're like, on which day?
Which
month?
Day, yes, where and how and when. And I think for me, it's not really about really pinpointing to one particular lesson. It is really about self-improvement and lessons that I've taught myself to unlearn is I love Mel Roberts with her 5-second rule of just stopping procrastinating and just doing it. Because I love her quote saying that help is not coming. Your mother's not coming to tell you to go to the gym, to tell you to go to work. No help is coming. You are the help. So get up and just do it. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, boom.
Yeah, be proactive, get into it, and of course, create that own level of success for yourself. And that really speaks, as you keep emphasizing, Gert, about self-investment, self-development, and of course, showing up for yourself in a different light. It's quite clear that you've always been a very self-motivated person. As you said, you thanked yourself for having that just this morning in your gratitude journal. And I'm keen to also understand if that's ever made you feel different or excluded from what's perceived to be normal within society, either within your family, within friends, or the broader community that you grew up in?
You know what? I think being a gay boy in a farming community that sews and does ballet already excludes you from many things. That is not really ever been something that I sit back and reflect on, because you're so used to being different. I've always been different. I've always had a different life. So I think it's so used to always being out of the box that if somebody puts me into a normal box, that feels uncomfortable. No.
Any boxes you've been placed into that you haven't felt comfortable in before?
I think when it comes to my sexuality, that was a box that I didn't feel comfortable in. I was uncomfortable being a man, and I'm comfortable being a woman. I'm neither, and I'm everything. So that for me was a box that I really had to break out of, and that is something that I celebrate more and more and more. I'm trying to do so much for gay rights and trans rights and all this whole movement of the LGBTQ community, that it's really beautiful, the work that has been done and the voice that I've been given to really speak louder and speak clearer and really see what we can change. Like I said, 1% every day makes a big difference in the end.
Yeah.
The Executive Playbook, in association with Hennessy XO, celebrating personal and business success.
The Executive Playbook, in proud association with Hennessy XO. Each drop is an odyssey.
Gert, we certainly delved into your background, understanding more about how you've self-developed and self-enhanced yourself, and of course, how you're paying it forward with the multiple young students and scholars that you've actually sought to support. But let's talk about the reality of the life we're in right now. Day, I don't know, of 21 that was meant to be a lockdown, still living in a pandemic with the rest of the world. Just thank goodness we have slightly more freedoms now in order to move around. But we can't ignore the impact of COVID-19 and the lockdown on the business environment. And you're a businessman, you also work in the creative industry, and we're well aware of the shockwaves that this caused for the industry. How have you survived, and how have you sought new ways to pivot and be innovative despite the pandemic?
So if you think about the fashion industry, the wedding dress industry, the wedding planner industry, that's all event-based. So it was a really rough time to literally take yourself from a wedding dress business to something completely different. Having said that, it has been a lot of fun expanding my creativity in other ways. I think there is creativity when it comes to designing something, but there's also the creativity that comes in business. I really had to think about the 30 people that I employ, go back into second gear and redefine what business looks like after COVID or in COVID. And I really had to take all my creative hats and keep shoveling them until I found one that fit. And I think that's what we did. I think my business now is, of course, smaller than it was before COVID, but it's more comfortable, it's more manageable. I'm not popping in and out of meetings every 15 minutes. Life has really come to a speed that I enjoy, that I think my staff enjoys, that nobody feels overworked, everybody feels motivated, and we get to do less, but we get to do beautiful things. And of course, that was also the redesign or the second birth of my online store. When everybody went online, I was already online. So that, of course, was an advantage. So we just really upcycled and upskilled and up everything for my online customer and my online experience, because we realized that people are scared, money is scarce, people are scared to order online because what if it doesn't fit? Easy, give them free shipping and returns. International people are scared, what if it doesn't fit? Easy. International free shipping and returns. So that was the way that we just really teach the customer to be more comfortable with us. We're not going to run away with your money. We're going to do it until it is right. And we've done beautiful things. We've done t-shirts, we've done hoodies, we've done perfume. Just those small little things adds up in the end of the day. So for those months that we don't have all the wedding dresses that we used to have, there are the other things that picks it up.
Exactly. Very smart. And I guess goes back to the principles of diversification, right?
Exactly.
Seeing different spaces that you can operate in.
And collaborating.
Yes.
There are so many. Later this year, I'm doing a massive collaboration with the international brand. Cannot wait to show you guys. And then also, I've just done a collaboration with Nestle, with Recoffee, really creating South Africanness, and that is fun on its own. And small little collaborations like that, or big collaborations like that, also makes the wheels turn and creates talkability and interest into my brand. So taking other brands and them taking me, and we just gel together for a little bit, creates that newness that we're looking for.
Still missing fashion shows though?
The stress of a fashion show is something else. But I am doing a massive show God willingly, a massive show, whether it's online or in person on the 10th of November. So that's exciting.
Gert, you are definitely a creative at heart. Just experiencing you and working with you and seeing some of your work as well here in your studio, and even witnessing your space really speaks to how it is that you attract what it is that you want to be. And you emphasized this earlier. And maybe that leads me now to actually ask if you believe that these are some of the characteristics that have led to your success and how you do define success in your life.
I think, again, if you believe it does, it does. If you believe it doesn't, it doesn't. So I think everything is subjective and everything isn't. So it is really about what resonates for yourself as a business person. Being creative, I am a bit of a nutcase. So it is all these different things that motivate me. But it is really taking something that's quite serious like business and making it easy for yourself and fun for yourself to understand. It's literally the joy of business.
So someone who's a nutcase like yourself, but still managed to achieve great success, what's your next?
My next is we're hearing loud screams from all over the world to take the product there. So that is very exciting. That is something that we were working on in 2019 before COVID. And now we at least have the opportunity to extend that with the vaccine rolling out so beautifully. So that is definitely something that's happening. We have dressed lots of American stars, but there is so many to come. So I can't wait to show you guys what, and the world, what Gert-Johan Coetzee looks like on an international red carpet and beyond.
Exactly. We're looking forward to it, Gert. The beauty of being true to your story, owning it, trusting your gut and your creativity, constant self-investment, and of course, then passing that on to many people that you interact with in the world and adapting despite the volatility in the environment. We really appreciate your time today and helping us understand what your definition of success is.
Thank you so much.
Fantastic. Gert-Johan Coetzee helping us unpack more about his life story.
The Executive Playbook in association with Hennessy XO, celebrating personal and business success.